Okay, so let us continue from where we left. In our previous class, we were learning about the various parts of the female reproductive organ, right?
Yes, sir.
Few parts were left to be discussed, right? Before that, you answer some of the questions. Okay, out of the different parts, which part of the female reproductive organ produces the ovum?
Ovary.
That is ovary. Good. Okay, what's the number of ovary present in them?
2.
2 ovary are present. Good. Okay, every month, how many ovum are released by the ovary?
1.
1. Good. It will be released into which structure?
Can you tell me one more time?
This ovum is released into which part of the female reproductive system? It will be released into the fallopian tube. Yeah.
Fallopian tubes.
Fallopian tube. What's the another name for fallopian tube?
It's known as oviduct.
Oviduct. Very good. It's also called as oviduct. Okay. How many oviducts are there?
2.
Good. Talking about uterus, what is this uterus? This structure that we see over here, what is this uterus?
Uterus is the place where the baby grows.
Place where the baby will grow after fertilization of the egg. Getting it now? So after the fertilization of the egg, this is the place where the growth of the baby will take place. Good. Furthermore, do tell me that what is the function? What's the function of this structure over here? Just 1 minute. Yeah, this question I was going to ask, by the way. What are the hormones produced by the female reproductive system? Like, what is the hormone produced by the ovary?
It is estrogen and progesterone.
Progesterone. Good.
Yeah.
So they will be bringing the primary changes, primary sexual changes, or they will be bringing about secondary sexual changes in their body. Like, they will be responsible for what function?
Estrogen, and it regulates the menstrual cycle, and the progesterone, it is responsible for the pregnancy.
Progesterone will be particularly produced in the times of pregnancy. Good. So that will be produced right now. Also, though the progesterone, that will kind of help to bring about all the necessary changes in the early stages of pregnancy. Getting it? So like in the by the way, estrogen is also released in some quantity. So in the early stages of the pregnancy, lots of estrogen and progesterone will be secreted. Getting it now? So ये क्या करता है ना, like due to these secretions, various physical changes can be observed in the woman body. Right now, like in some kinds, thyroid gland हमारे neck में होता है ना, the thyroid gland, it can swell up. Its size can increase. Yes, Aisha? How are you? Yes, Naim.
Sir, I don't understand.
Oh, okay. What I mean to say now, like when the woman would be pregnant, so the body of the woman will go certain changes. What kind of changes? For example, the thyroid gland, its size will increase a little bit. There's a gland in our neck region. That can increase a little bit. You guys know about goiter, a deficiency disease in which the thyroid swells up and the neck, it kind of appears like there's a tumor or there's some increased muscle mass in the neck. It will unusually develop a bulb-like structure, kind of that. Getting it? What I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
So it's one of the thing, like what will happen at times after pregnancy now. These hormones like progesterone and estrogen, their secretion will increase. So their mood can swing. They can lead to swinging of the mood. Getting it now? Furthermore, the pigmentation can increase, or like for example, what we can see, that there could be development of pimples, getting it now, or in the abdominal line there can be hyperpigmentation. Abdominal line, you guys getting what I'm trying to say? You guys understand now what is abdomen? What happens to this? Yeah, talking about the abdominal line, what I'm saying, that sometimes the pigmentation can change, like the skin color of the abdomen, getting it, basically the stomach, that can change during pregnancy because of increased release of progesterone or hormone, right? Sweating can also increase. This is also observed. Guys, am I not visible? Hello, am I audible in the class?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there seems to be some issue with my camera. Just hold on for a minute. Give me a minute. Let me quickly fix this. Yeah, now it's working. So due to increased release of estrogen and progesterone, the body of the woman will be going through a number of changes. Sometimes they can develop back pain also, right? Obviously because of the weight of the child. Their mood can swing, mood can change, precipitation can increase, meaning that sweating can increase. They can sweat more than usual. Mood can swing, getting it now. Furthermore, pigmentation can be observed in the abdomen region, like over the stomach near the um, in the lower part of the abdomen region. Now we will observe, particularly in the abdominal line, pigmentation can observe. That is one thing. Okay, so these hormones should be secreted in increased quantity. That is one thing. Furthermore, talking about the function of the fallopian tube. So what is the function of the fallopian tube? What function do they perform? Yeah.
It takes the ovum.
It would be basically carrying the ovum.
Ovum and the fertilization process.
Fertilization will be taking place in the oviduct or the fallopian tube. Good. Okay. While talking about the uterus, as you said moments ago, it will be responsible for the development of the fertilized egg into a human baby, right? Okay. Now, some of the structures were left to be discussed, like the cervix or the vagina was left to be discussed right now. So, talking about the cervix. The cervix is that part of the female reproductive system now that is located right below the uterus, or basically at the base of the uterus. Uterus ke base par it is located at the base of the uterus. Getting it now? Also, furthermore, it will be playing many aspects of the reproductive cycle. For example, um, during menstruation, while we will be learning about menstruation in detail, there you will get to know that the cervix will slightly open during menstruation in order to allow the blood and the dead ovum to flow through it. So this cervix will slightly open. Getting it, everyone? While menstruation, it will be opening in order to allow the blood or the dead ovum to flow in case fertilization does not take place. Getting it, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Furthermore, what happens now if pregnancy occurs, like if fertilization takes place, when fertilization takes place, so then what will be happening? That the cervix would be now the cervix would produce a very thick mucus. Mucus, you guys understand? Like mucus is a enzyme which is secreted by the inner lining of our stomach also. So it's a chemical, basically a special chemical substance, basically a special fluid that is produced. Getting it? Guys, is my camera stucking in between the class?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Anyways, so it will produce thick amount of mucus, and it would be preventing the bacteria and viruses from entering into the uterus. So the reason why it will form a thick mucus now during pregnancy, so that the bacteria does not enter into this. You guys yourself think about this logically. Like if bacteria were to go into this during the pregnancy, will it not be harmful for the child?
It will be harmful.
It will be harmful, exactly. So the cervix that is lying to the base of the uterus, it will form a thick mucus which will not allow the bacteria or viruses to enter into it. That is one thing. Okay. Furthermore, after pregnancy, it will go back to its normal size. After I mean to say childbirth. All right, no? That is all about the cervix. So it's basically a structure, or basically that part of the female reproductive system that is located at the base of the uterus. That is located at the base of the uterus. So it is that part of the female reproductive system that is located at base of the uterus, at the base of uterus. Okay, a special thing about this I say that in times of menstruation, what happens in menstruation? Those of you who are getting this thing difficult to understand, like menstruation, we haven't discussed it yet. Okay, na? So we'll be learning about this in detail after a few minutes. Okay, talking about menstruation in this, what will happen? The role of the cervix would be that it will slightly open in times of menstruation. So it slightly opens during menstruation to allow the blood and muscles that are dead muscles to pass through it. So if it were not to open, how else the blood or the dead ovum cells would be able to pass via the uterus? So it is only that this will be opening slightly. Getting it? That is one thing. Furthermore, you know that during ovulation, the cervix would be producing some mucus at that time also to allow the sperm to reach and fertilize the egg. Meaning that when the sperm would be coming now, when a sperm would be coming via the vagina, when it will go into the cervix, at that time, this cervix would be producing some mucus. At that time also it will produce some mucus, and mucus would be kind of acting as a lubricating material. Okay, it will provide some lubrication so that this can move further into the uterus and then into the fallopian tube where the fertilization is will be taking place. Getting it now? See, at the time of ovulation or at the time of fertility, at that time also it will be happening when sperm would be passing. So at that time, just a thin mucus would be released. Is everyone getting it? What I'm saying?
Yes,
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Hmm. During pregnancy, also we have learned about this. What will be the role? Also during fertility, it produces thin mucus. Okay. Furthermore, after fertilization, after fertilization has taken place, it thick mucus. Produces thick mucus. So what does it do? It blocks bacteria and viruses from entering where? From entering where? Yes, name? From entering the
entering the cervix.
uterus. No? Got this? No? So that is the role. Now talking about the function of vagina. Talking about the function of the vagina, basically over here, this is a muscular tubular structure. This is basically kind of a canal-like structure, as we can see over here. This would be a canal-like structure if we can extend it further, right? So that will be allowing all the menstrual liquid, all the menstrual waste to pass via this. Getting it now? That is what the main function of vagina is. Also, this will be allowing the sperm to travel all the way up to the cervix and then to the uterus. Getting it? So this plays role in the role in the reproduction, as it would be allowing the sperm to travel further to the cervix. Getting it now? Also, this is a canal for the childbirth also. This is the same canal from where the childbirth would be taking place. Getting it, everyone? Also, during childbirth, the width of the vagina will increase. Okay, now it expands. Getting it now? Got this now? So it will kind of, first of all, it will kind of it will expand so that it can make sufficient amount of room or sufficient amount of space for the baby to pass through that canal. Okay, now? So at that time, this will become wider or looser. Right now, wider or looser. That is one thing. So hope this much is clear. So what we learned so far? It's a muscular tubular like a structure, right? And it is connected to the cervix, as we can see over here. This is connected to the cervix now, and it is a canal like a structure. Furthermore, it will be acting as the receptor for the penis. The penis would go into this, and further the sperm, as it would be released, it will furthermore pass via cervix, then all the way till to the fallopian tube where the fertilization will take place. So talking about the functions of vagina, these are the functions. It acts as a receptor of the penis and allows the movement of sperms to the fallopian tubes and to the uterus. It also allows delivery of the fetus during the birth of the child. So it's also called as birth canal. Birth canal. So during the childbirth, yes.
What is delivery of the fetus?
Repeat again.
What is fetus? Fetus.
Okay, fetus now. Yeah, fetus is basically the unborn child. Okay, now fetus is the unborn child. That is what fetus is basically. Okay, so it's basically the baby of the humans that would be growing inside the uterus. Okay, not just of the humans but of other mammals also. Or this no? So it's a basically unborn child that has grown and that has developed inside the uterus. Like this here is the fetus. This here is the fetus over here. Okay, that is one thing. Also, fetus would be considered as that stage of the development. Now just you guys have a look at this image for a moment. Have a look at this first of all. In this, what we observe that once the both of you, all of you, turn your cameras on in the class now. While we'll be learning about the development of this of the zygote, now there would be learning about in detail that what fetus is. As of now, just let me tell you one thing, that fetus basically at the, this is that stage of the development of the baby where major organs and the body systems would have grown. Okay, now would have grown and they would be identifiable. Like the limbs would have grown properly. The fetus can move its limbs. Getting it? Eyelashes would have developed. Hair would have developed. We'll be learning about this in detail after some time. Okay, now.
Okay, sir.
While when we'll be learning about the development of the embryo, they will be learning about it in detail. As of now, next topic which we are going to learn is about the menstruation. Okay, so let us learn about menstruation, what this menstruation is. So when the females would be reaching the age of puberty, so at that time the ovary starts to produce mature eggs every month. When they reach the age of puberty, like 17, 14, 15, 16 years of age usually, at that time the ovary would start to produce ovum. So one ovum would be released every month out of any ovary. Like either this ovary can release one ovum or either this one. Okay. So this actually is an indication of the ability to reproduce, meaning that at the age of puberty, the ovary is releasing mature ovums. Okay, no? They are mature ovums. Before that, when the female child is still a kid, at that time the ovary does not produces mature ovum. So fertilization cannot take place. It cannot be fertilized because that is not fully developed now. Getting it now, both of you? So puberty is an indication, or at puberty this would be released, and release of the ovum is an indication that now the female is basically capable of reproducing. Okay, na? So it's an indication of the ability to reproduce. Getting it? Okay. And this process now, like the release of mature eggs every month, is being called as menstrual cycle. What do we call this as? Menstrual cycle. It's basically a cycle in which the like the from the first from the when they reach the age of puberty, like every 28 days, or like it can range basically. In some women, like every 23 days, in some every 28, in some every 35 days, the ovary would be releasing one egg, right? Usually for teenagers it can be shorter, but for other women it can be a longer duration. Getting it, no? Okay. So during this cycle, basically what will happen, the ovum would be released, and the ovum will travel all the way to the fallopian tube. The ovum would be traveling all the way to the fallopian tube. Have a look at this one. It will travel all the way to the fallopian tube. Now, at that time, what will happen now? The wall of the uterus, it will prepare itself to receive the fertilized eggs. If fertilization would have taken place, so what would have happened? Zygote would have formed, as you guys know about this, as we have learned in the previous classes. As the sperm fertilizes the ovum, so after fertilization, what happens? A single cell structure called a zygote is formed now. Getting this, everyone? Furthermore, the zygote grows further. Have a look at this one, by the way. Once fertilization has taken place, these are sperm, this is ovum. Thereby, their nucleus are actually fusing. As we know, the head of the sperm contains nucleus. It will go further. All the parts remain behind now. Only the head would be going here, and the nucleus of the sperm and the ovum would be fusing. As you can see over here, they are fusing together, and zygote is formed. Now, this zygote is a single cell structure. This is a single cell structure. But furthermore, what happens? The number of cells in the zygote starts to multiply. Have a look at this one. You guys can clearly see that the number of cells seems to be doubling at every stage. Initially, the number of cells would be 2, then it will go on to 4, 8, 16. Then it will further reach such a stage where the number of cells in the zygote would have increased to 32. How much? Yes, Aisha, how much? Just name 32. As you can see over here, like some of the inner portion of that structure is being shown here. You can see so many cells are there now. By the way, this portion is not empty. It is being showed like that. Okay, now 32 cells are present at this stage. Now, then what will happen now? All this structure that you see over here, this is the wall of the uterus. What is this? Wall of uterus. So what happens at that time, now, guys? That the wall of the uterus, this is talking about fertilization, when fertilization would have taken place, right now. Or even if the fertilization would not have taken place, right now, like once the ovum has been released, see, once the ovum has been released, so the walls of the uterus would expect that would prepare itself for receiving the egg. But if fertilization does not take place, so all the preparation done by the wall of the uterus would be of no use, since as the eggs haven't been fertilized now, fertilization haven't taken place. So thereby the egg will not be embedded into the wall of the uterus. It will simply die and will fall. You guys getting it what I'm trying to say? So let me sum it up once again. Aisha, what about you? Getting it?
Yes, sir.
So far what we learned, that when the ovums are released by the ovary once in a month, Okay. So that ovum, if the fertilization have taken place, or even if fertilization have not taken place, the wall of the uterus prepares itself. By wall, I am referring to this structure. This structure that you see over here. Look at where I'm pointing. This whole structure, this is the wall of the uterus. It will prepare itself. You can see the size has thickened. It has thickened. The blood supply in the wall of the uterus have increased. How? Why these changes are happening? Because in case if fertilization would have taken place now, so the egg will be coming into here now. Egg will be embedded into this now, right? And that egg that fertilized egg will require lots of bloods, lots of nutrition. That's why it has got thickened. Getting it, both of you now. But if the egg is not fertilized, so thereby in that case, what will happen if the egg does not fertilized? All this thickening, all this preparation done by the uterus, it will be of waste. It will be basically waste, and along with it will basically die. It will fall off. Okay, now it will basically die and will fall off along with the dead ovum, because ovum would not have been fertilized, so it will simply die. So is this much so far clear to everyone or not? Please let me know.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So let me sum it up the important points about this. Okay, now what are the important things about it? So first of all, let me clear that out. So talking about menstrual cycle so far, what we have learned that in this cycle, the ovaries would be producing one egg every month. They produce one egg every month, right? That will be traveling all the way to the uterus. Right now, it will be traveling all the way to the uterus, and it will be attaching itself to the lining of the uterus if fertilization have taken place, right? But if the egg is not fertilized, the uterus will be shedding its lining. It will be shedding its lining. What that lining is made up of? That lining is made up of muscle tissues and blood. So that is what that lining is made up of. Getting it now? So that will lead to bleeding in females. That will lead to bleeding in the females, and all those extra mass, all those blood will come out by the cervix and then will go into the vagina and will come out in the form of blood. So that is the menstruation. That is what menstruation is. And then on an average, the duration of menstruation would be lasting would be about 20 days. Okay, now on average, I'm giving you an average number. It would be every 28 days. And when does this start? When the woman would be reaching the age of puberty, like usually 10, 11, or 12 years right now. And it will continue till they reach the age of 45 to 55 years of age. Getting it, guys? Okay. So do tell me, in case of fertilization of the ovum, will menstruation be happening? In case, no, obviously. Yes, Aisha? No.
No, sir.
So menstruation only happens when fertilization does not take place. If the incoming egg is not fertilized with the sperm. Okay. If anyone happens to have any doubt in this, please do let me know.
No, sir.
Good then. So let us understand about. Let me write few important points about this. Okay. The first thing is that I'm just going to write some bullet points and draw a schematic diagram. Okay. So at puberty, what happens? Ovary releases ovum, right? And talking about in female, the age of puberty would be usually 10, 11 years, right now. So at that time, the release of mature ovum would take place. Now, two things will happen. If it is fertilized, it will be embedded into the wall of uterus, right? Embedded in wall of uterus, and from here the growth of the embryo and the fetus will take place. Embryo and fetus, will be learning about that later on. If the fertilization does not take place, then what happens? No fertilization. Then in that case, what happens? The lining of uterus that basically contains blood plus muscle tissues, okay, plus ovum. Just 1 minute. Hmm. So lining of uterus will be shedded. It will be shedded along with this ovum. Will it be alive? No, it will die.
Dead.
So the ovum also dies. So all of this will come along with the blood. So bleeding occurs. Bleeding will be occurring via the cervix and then via the vagina. Important point to be noted down is that when this menstrual cycle, when this menstruation happens for the first time, it is called as menarche. Like around the age of 10 or 11 years, this will start. By the way, this menstrual cycle, no menstruation or menstrual cycle, okay, this is also called as this is also okay. First of all, write down this thing, then we'll be having a look at it. Talking about some important points is that when it begins now, when this bleeding happens for the first time, that is called as menarche. Okay, now, so when it begins, it is called as menarche. Usually at the age of 10 or 11 or 12, or in some cases up to age at the age of 13 years. Right now, it will vary from individual, from person to from person to person. Okay, when it ends, when it will be ending, then it will be called as menopause. Usually from the age of 45 to 50 years. By that time, the bleeding will stop, the menstrual cycle will stop. Okay. Another important thing is that talking about the duration of the menstrual cycle is that it takes place every 28 days. Okay, now. So on an average, it occurs every 28 days. So hope that much is clear to everyone. Okay. So hope that is clear to everyone. Okay, now. So it's basically a kind of a part of a cycle in the woman that would be occurring when the lining of the uterus, it will break down and it will shed. Okay. So in as a result of this, a liquid that will contain the blood and will contain all the other things. Okay, now, blood and dead tissues and dead ovum will pass via the vagina. By the way, this is also called as periods in them as well. Also called as periods. Okay, no, it will occur every 28 and 29 days, and it can last for how much time of period? Last for usually 3 to 5 days. Okay, now it will last for 3 to 5 days, and the main reason why it is happening because the egg that is released, it is not fertilized. Okay, so hope this much is clear. Okay. Many times the menstruation cannot occur, like it can be irregular in certain cases. Huh? Like if the health of the girl child is very poor, or if they are suffering from a stress, so this cycle now that is of that will happen, that happens every 28 days now, that can be disturbed. Getting it, everyone, what I'm trying to say? Is that clear to everyone?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now moving on to other topics. But right now, we'll be learning about development of the embryo. Okay, no, development of the embryo. By the way, there was one more aspect of this I would like to discuss about the menstruation. Now, like mental awareness needs to be awareness needs to be um, raised regarding this. Okay, no, in the society, awareness needs to be raised on this issue, huh? Because like the girl child would be suffering from so many problems. at this when they be going through puberty. Like their mood would be swinging at time. At some time they can feel very sad or be very tearful, or can become irritable or angry. People don't tend to understand like why they are suffering from this or why they are having such a behavior. At some time it happens. It is related to menstruation. People can feel anxious. They can be tensed. Or they can have trouble in maintaining the concentration. This sleep can be disturbed because of this. Their appetite can be disturbed. They can start to overeat or night might not be eating properly. Getting it now? Getting this now? So thereby it is important that awareness among the people is raised. Getting it? Or the talking to healthcare professionals for support or trying out different lifestyle changes, having certain lifestyle choices can make it easier to cope up with this thing. Okay, now, although it's a completely natural process which the woman goes through. Getting it? All right. So let us now learn about the development of the embryo. Okay, what is first of all, let us learn what is embryo, and then we'll be learning about how it is developed. As we know about fertilization, as a result of fertilization, zygote is formed. Now, right now, we'll be learning about the development of the zygote. So, the zygote that is formed right after the fertilization process, now it will be repeatedly dividing, as you can see over here. Like the number of cells keeps on dividing. First, there will be 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells, 16 cells. Then finally, reaches the reaches a stage where the number of cells increases to
32.
32. At that time, it is being called as blastocyst. Okay. Furthermore, these cells now, the cells present in this ball-like structure, right now, they would be forming different groups, and each group will start to develop into different tissues and organs. Then this will be called as embryo. Then what this will be called as embryo. Getting it? So
Yes,
this
sir.
blastocyst, now let us say like certain groups, the cells have formed certain groups like this, for example. Different groups have been formed, and different groups would start to develop into different tissues, because we know from cells tissues are formed, from tissues organs are formed, like that. So at this stage only cells are present. So cells, after combining, they can form tissues only at that stage. So tissues will start to develop. So this structure is being, then we can call this as embryo. Getting it now? Got this? No, this blastocyst is basically embryo. So this structure where we get to see that where we get to see that groups of cells will start to form. It will start to form into tissues so that they can carry out different functions. So that stage of the development of the child is being called as embryo. And embryo will be embedding itself into the wall of the uterus, and there it will after attaching itself with the wall of the uterus, it will start to receive all the nourishment from the mother, and hence will start to grow. And later on, very soon, we will see that the different parts of the body, like for example, now this is the blastocyst, right? And this is being also called as embryo, meaning ke, what I'm trying to say now, like in the initial stages of the development of the baby, will the eyes or limbs will it be visible? Are the organs formed at that stage? Hmm? In the first few weeks of pregnancy, the parts of the body are not identifiable now. Getting it, guys? Because at that time, organs formation haven't started to take place. Getting it, both of you? So that is what a embryo is. Right now, when only group of cells have formed into tissue, so that is being called as embryo. Got this now? Slowly, then what will be happening now? Once the embryo has been embedded into the wall of the uterus, then parts of the body like hand, their legs, their feet, their eyes, their heart, their ears, it will slowly start to develop. And there will come a time when it will start, when it will be identifiable. Like the doctors will be able to identify it. So this 4-week-old unborn child, now this is being called as fetus because from this time period, some of the parts of the body are identifiable, isn't it, guys? You guys can also obviously observe some of the structure over here, right? Are the limbs little bit visible? You can clearly see this thing to me, like which part of the body will be forming the limbs, the lower part or the lower part or the upper part?
The lower part.
This one I'm interested. The lower part forms the skull, the face, and other things. Now, the lower part would be particularly forming the legs. Getting it now? Sorry, upper part. This one over here. So the parts of the body will be identifiable. So when it will be identifiable, then it will be called as fetus. Got this now? So the very key difference between the fetus and embryo is that in fetus, only different groups of cells would be visible, like in the form of tissues, it would be visible. But once the but in the case of fetus, the body parts would be identifiable. That is the key difference between the two. Hope that is clear to both of you.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Further, this fetus will completely develop, and after 9 months of pregnancy, the birth of the baby will take place. And have a look at the 20-week fetus. Okay. Okay, all if we do this calculation, what is the duration of pregnancy in women in terms of weeks? Yeah, I want all of you to do this calculation. Usually we know that, let me help you out with this one. Like usually the pregnancy would be about 280 days. About 280 days, okay. Convert this into week. How many weeks of pregnancy in the woman? By the way, pregnancy, this is also called as gestation. Yeah, Aisha?
40.
40 weeks. Very good, very good. Okay, no? Very good. Now, in some cases, the baby, the childbirth can take place even in 37 or 38 weeks. Okay, no? That also happens sometimes. Got this? Like in some cases, this can even exceed further to 40 weeks. Like if it, in some cases, it can exceed to 42 weeks also. Okay, so this thing is clear, I hope. And all of you have a look at this, the growth of the fetus from the 9-week to the 40-week. This is a 9-week-old fetus. This is how it looks. And this is a 40-week-old fetus. 40-week-old, that is about 280 days, right? So now the complete growth of baby have taken place. So hope the development, hope you guys have understood this thing. Now there was another interesting thing which I wanted to discuss with you guys. You guys have a look at this structure and look at this umbilical cord and placenta. You guys ever wondered about this? That how the baby receives nutrition from the mother? Like when a newborn baby, have you guys ever seen a newborn baby?
Yes, sir. In the
Yes.
belly button, there will be a tube.
Very good. So thereby you'll see that a tube-like structure would be connected to the abdomen, right now. So that is called as umbilical cord. It would be still connected to the mother, right, Aisha? And Naim. It has to be cut,
Yes.
by the way, right now. Okay. So talking about the placenta and the umbilical cord over here. See, right after 6 days of fertilization, this placenta is formed. Okay. Right after 6 days of fertilization, it starts to form. All this sheet-like structure now that you see over here, this is what placenta is. Let me highlight it. This is what placenta is, okay? So right after 6 days of fertilization, it starts to form, and like it can take about somewhere around 20 weeks to fully develop. Getting it? Okay. Furthermore, you guys can look at this tube-like structure over here. What is this called as, Aisha? That is umbilical cord, no? Right? This umbilical cord is connecting the baby to the to the placenta. The umbilical cord connects the baby to the placenta, right? And all the necessary nutrients, necessary food items, necessary oxygen will be passing from the blood of the mother to the child. Getting it, everyone? Both of you?
Yes, sir.
These are the blood vessels that are connected to the placenta. The one that I have drawn right now, these are the blood vessels. And as we know, in the blood would be carrying various nutrients, it would be carrying oxygen. So all the necessary things required for the unborn baby, like nutrients or the oxygen, will be passing via the placenta, and further via the placenta, via the umbilical cord, it will go to the baby. Getting it now, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is the function of these two. Furthermore, what about the removal of the waste? The waste will also be produced in the body of the baby now. So thereby, there also umbilical cord and placenta will be helping it. So whatever waste will be produced in its body, like carbon dioxide is a waste that will be produced in the body right now. So babies, different kind of waste products, like for example, carbon dioxide, it will be sent to the mother's blood through the umbilical cord. First, it will go into the umbilical cord, then will go into the placenta, and then will go into the blood vessels. Why the blood vessel will then go into the body of the mother. So that is how it takes place. So basically, the function of the placenta would be to provide nourishment from the mother's blood to the embryo via the umbilical cord. What is the function of placenta? To provide nourishment to the child from mother's blood to the child via the umbilical cord. So hope that much is clear to everyone. If there's any confusion in this, please do let me know.
No confusion, sir. It's
Very good
clear.
then. Good. Now let us understand about test tube babies. Have you ever heard of test tube babies? Huh? You guys know about what are test tube babies?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Okay, okay. Let us learn about this interesting concept. Okay. In some cases, what happens now? The fallopian tube of the woman can be blocked since the birth. What did I say? That in in some cases, the fallopian tube of the woman can be blocked. So thereby, the fertilization, it will be difficult. The fertilization can't take place now. Try to think of it like this. Like if it is blocked like this, blocked. So thereby, will ovum pass further into the fallopian tube? Obviously, no. Getting it, everyone? So in certain women, fallopian tubes can be blocked. So if the fallopian tubes are blocked, so thereby you guys tell me, will the woman be able to will the egg be fertilized in any case?
No, sir.
No. Getting it now? Also, this problem can either be genetic or it can either lead to some bacterial infections also. Keep that thing in mind. Getting it now? The blocking of the fallopian tubes, either it can be genetic or in some cases, uh, like um, what do we say? Like bacterial infections can also lead to this. Although that's a rare case, but that happens sometimes. Okay. So then for those couples now, those women now, whose fallopian tube would be blocked. So for them, there's a process called as test tube baby, or also called as in vitro fertilization. It's a process that involves fertilizing an egg with sperm in a laboratory dish. In a laboratory dish. So although we know that in the case of mammals like humans, internal fertilization takes place, fertilization of the egg is taking place inside the body. But here in a laboratory dish, the one that you see over here, this is a glass-like structure which we call as laboratory dish. Here the fertilization is done. Hmm? So test tube babies basically, as I said, the oviduct or the fallopian tube in some of them are blocked. Either it could be by birth, or either they might have suffered some injury, or might, for example, some bacterial infections would have lead to that. So they will not be able to hold the eggs. The egg will not pass into the fallopian tube. So thereby those women are incapable of bearing the babies because of their blocked ducts. But however, as science have developed recently too much, so thereby it has been not possible that why the process of in vitro fertilization IVF, the freshly released eggs of females and the sperms can be fertilized externally in a laboratory dish. So this is the whole concept of test tube babies. You guys know there was an Indian scientist who initially developed the concept of test tube babies. There was a movie also made on him. There was a person by the name of Subhas Mukherjee, I believe. He was an Indian scientist. He was a physician who created the world's, who I would say not the first, but I would say the world's second and like the India's first child using the in vitro fertilization. But tragically, he was never credited for his for this achievement. Getting it now? So Subhas Mukherjee was an Indian scientist. Okay, do one thing. You guys know, learn a little bit about the scientist Subhas Mukherjee. Subhas Mukherjee. He was the first person, particularly in India, to have developed the method of in vitro fertilization. Getting it now? Although, as we know, the first test tube baby in the world was not from India, but from outside India. The name was Louis Brown. First test tube baby was. Let me write this over here. First test tube baby. The name was Louis Brown. Okay, Aisha, Ibrahim. Her name was Louis Brown. Okay, na. And there was the first Indian test tube baby was her name was Kanu Priya, if I'm not wrong. Kanu Priya Agarwal or something like it was like that. Okay, na. So the first Indian test tube baby, the name is Kanu Priya. Now, moments ago, I did told you that there was an important Indian physician whose name was Shubhas Mukherjee. Okay, na. Interestingly, recently I did actually happen to have watched his movie. There was a movie made on him. Okay, now there was a very famous movie made on him. Like it was something like I forget to recall the name, but anyways, so he had some great contributions in this in vitro fertilization method. Okay, now moving on, let us understand. Do we have sufficient time left? Okay, let's see. Talking about how this method is done, how it is done. See, first of all, certain hormone would be given to the female to in order to trigger the release of the ovum. Getting it, everyone? What I'm trying to say. The first step would be to do a ovarian stimulation hormone therapy. Like some hormones would be injected to the body of the female, so thereby ovary would be releasing the ovum. That thing is clear. Next thing is that in the second step, what is being done via a syringe, or the eggs would be picked up. As the eggs would be released, so via a syringe, via a special syringe, the eggs would be picked out, as you can see over here. That is the second step. In the third step, the sperm donor, the sperm from the male parent would have been taken in a test tube like this. Now, in the fourth step, what is being done? Fertilization is being done. In a China dish, in a laboratory dish, you can see the sperms and the ovums, they are being made to fuse together, and hence fertilization would be taking place there. Getting it, everyone? Furthermore, in the fifth stage of the development, now the zygote, as you can see over here, the fertilization is taking place. So thereby it would have led to formation of zygote. Zygote would further grow. As you can see, the number of cells have started to multiply. 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells. Right now, getting it, everyone. Finally, it will further grow into blastocyst. You all remember about this blastocyst, right? It
The
would be
third
a
process.
exactly. Then via a cannula, this will be now transferred into the uterus of the mother. Transferred into the uterus of the mother, where the embryo will now be embedding itself into the lining of the uterus, and in the natural manner, how the growth of the how the nourishment of the baby takes place, that will start to happen. The placenta will grow right after 6 days of embedding of it. Then umbilical cord will start to develop, and the baby will receive nourishment. The cells will start to multiply, organs will start to develop, and hence the growth of the baby will take place. Is that thing clear to everyone so far or not?
Yes, sir.
So that's it for today. Now, other classes we'll be learning about external and internal fertilization. We'll be learning about fertilization, internal fertilization in the eggs, how it takes place. Getting it now. Then we'll be concluding the difference between zygote and embryo. Then we'll be learning about metamorphosis. All that in the next class. By the way, you guys now do one thing. Do a little bit research about this scientist, Subhash Mukherjee. Okay, now you will get to know that he was actually like not credited for his achievement. Okay, now let me just tell you what happened basically. The all the research work that he did now, his fellow scientist was kind of was they held some grudge against him, or they were not liking this person. They did not like the work of this person, because in that era now, if someone came up with such a groundbreaking research work, either the people would not be supporting them, they would be making a mockery out of him, huh? Or they did not help him with enough funds. He didn't got enough funds from the committee members. Eventually he gave up on his work. He gave up on his work, and later on, what he observed that one day he got to read some article in the newspaper, and his works were published, not published I would say, but whatever ground breaking research he had done